So now we can do questions. And I'm sorry I didn't say that at the beginning. I'd like to invite all the speakers back up on the stage and our panelists. And we have two panelists that you haven't met yet, and so I'll ask them to say a few words. We have Mahendra Sundaraj, and he's the enterprise architect, and he manages the Sunpower Corporation IT group. So you'll have a discrete guy as well as all of these terrific process people that spoke today. So I think we had a real good cross-section, and I think very diverse industries and different challenges, but yet similar challenges. So does anybody have a question? Well, while you're thinking about a question, Michael, did you want to start with your question? Or did you feel like you got it answered?
No, I got
actually, I want you to introduce yourselves, actually.
Hi there. My name is Michael Canellis. I'm at OSI Soft, and I have two jobs there. I'll run communications and work in the marketing department, and I also am quote-unquote the IoT analyst, which that involves, for years I was a reporter, and so my job right now is to actually go out to talk to analysts, talk to customers, and people all over and try to distill some trends. And probably the two of the more interesting ones, I would think, it'd be, one is progress in IoT and digital transformation is a lot better, I think, than people think. If you roll back the clock a few years ago, there was these people, moaning and complaining that 85% of big data projects will fail. When you look actually now, the success rate's pretty good. I spoke to Nathan Nuttall at Gartner, and he said 61% of proof of concepts are actually doing better than expected. And his own personal theory is that people are actually staying in the POC level because it's free, and they actually don't want to pay the vendor to come in and commercialize. They're just happy with what they have then. Another, I think, talked to somebody else, they said only 10% are really true failures. And like as Derek pointed out, they had results within a year. You're seeing a lot more people actually succeed within a year. And the other part I'm seeing, this is very subjective, but it comes to the culture question, which, almost every session you go here, it's about the people. Usually when you hear a technology vendor talk about, you've got to work on the people, it usually means your employees are dopes, right? We give them this technology, but they're resistant and not really adapting to it. And what you're seeing now is actually companies going in, seeing what employees have to do, and fitting in almost anthropologically, fitting into their workflow and then giving them something. So technology can drive culture as long as they take the time to embed themselves into that process. So those are two things I'm seeing out there, very subjective, but they're both very positive signs.
Okay,
Thanks.
Mahendra?
Hi.
Why don't you introduce yourself and just tell a
Sure,
little bit.
I'll keep it short considering the time. I'm an enterprise architect in Sunpower. Sunpower is a solar panel manufacturing company, as most of you might know. And I oversee IT architecture and process excellence in Sunpower for manufacturing, supply chain, and quality information systems, mainly around ERP, cloud computing, digital transformation, application architecture. That's it about me.
Okay, do we have any questions? Yes, we have a first question in the back. Well, if you could state your name and company, it would be helpful, I think.
Yes, good morning. My name is Michiel Thijsing, Dow Chemical, and Janice, I have to agree with you. These were three excellent presentations. And if I have to vote for which one is the best, I couldn't. So if you look back in your implementation, what are the failures that happened during that implementation that gave you most of the learning? So basically, that's for Merck and Saudi Aramco and Mine. What were those failures that gave you most of your insights to go forward?
Okay, Eugene?
We did a Google Glass augmented reality proof of concept. And I remember we were really intrigued by hands-free operation. It's a complex packing operation, and you can't be reading a paper SOP or holding instructions near you while assembling this thing. And so we used the Google Glass and with the electronic work instruction. And it was reasonably successful. We were able to match productivity before and after. If we had to do it again, we would have picked an operation where maybe the operations department hadn't pre-memorized how to do it. So we didn't pick the right application that we could maximize the benefit. But it did prove out the concept, although we also learned that fit and form was a problem. And it doesn't fit all operators. People have different shaped heads and different sized heads, so that was also a challenge.
Okay, Ian, did you want to answer?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Within Saudi Aramco, what we did is that we started with a small-scale proof of concept. Actually, we started with a prototype, then a proof of concept, then a pilot. Then we went with actual implementation of the project. And I wouldn't call it failure. It's mainly lessons learned. Early on in 2006, for example, when we started using the machine learning, the system kept, restarting. And we discovered that because of the limitation back then of having only 4 GB of RAM on the server, that couldn't handle the machine learning, computing power. So with the expansion again with the hardware and advancement of the technology, now these things are becoming a reality and doable, no longer an issue. Every step that we go through, we learn a lot from, and we tap into the lessons learned and build using the lessons learned from these different prototype and trials.
Okay, Derek, did you want to comment?
Yeah, certainly. One of the things that we had to take into account was that there's so many opportunities that you can address, and especially certainly in our case at the mine, and trying not to bite off more than you can chew. Take account of what resources that you have available to you, and not overextend and burn out the human element is really was critical to any of these initiatives, and having the right skill sets and having the right people in place. I found that I tried to start off with 5 initiatives, and realizing that we couldn't accomplish all 5 of these at the time frame that we had, and we had to narrow it down. And so we made the right choice in focusing on metal recovery, but all these 5 initiatives required more manpower and more dedication and resources than I had available at the time. And so that's one of the key things, is taking account of the people that you have available.
Mahendra, did you want to add to that?
Sure. So in our past experience, it came in the technology form, our first obstacle. We did a minimum viable product, POC, and we liked a set of technologies. And mostly, it's a gap between the business, the manufacturing, and IT. That's what the root cause was. So we picked on actually a combination of technology, and then we wanted to actually put this in cloud. That's when we realized the technology combination we picked up, it's not available in that region because our factories are in Asia. So cloud service providers have zones and regions all over the world. So not all the services you have in cloud available in all the zones. And its technology is evolving every day. Whatever you pick, it gets outdated in our, a better version coming out in the next 2 months or 1 quarter out. And cloud companies are also, you have plenty of options. Way back when we started in 2 or 3 years back, not many cloud vendors are not so mature, but you have so many cloud vendors and they are continuously expanding their portfolio. So when you're doing the POC, you may want to watch out for what technology tools combination you're picking. Is it going to be relevant, and will it be available in whatever the vendor or technology service provider you're going to work with?
Okay, thank you. We have a question over here, and then we have a couple more, so that's great.
I can't see yet, so.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry that you can't see.
Quite impressive presentations. My name is Matt Maladi from Reliance Industries. And this question is for Saudi Aramco. And
Yeah.
it's quite impressive to see how you brought so many pieces together. I have 3 sub-questions. Is iMOMS working now? And
Yes.
how long did it take you to develop it? And the third question is, what do you mean by patented process safety?
Okay.
Ian? Yeah.
So the IMAM is working now, yes. The time took us to develop it. If you are talking about the execution time of the project, it took, sorry? Yeah, the starting from the definition of the project took us, for example, developing the feed was 1 year, and then the detailed design was another year, and then the implementation is another year. So you're talking about 3 to 4 years of the end-to-end. But again, that we developed it with the end in mind, that we don't want the future project to take the same time. So we developed it in an innovative way, an expandable way. So the future project, it will be within less than a year. And most of the time will be in the data collection and the data cleansing, not in the development of the solutions that we have. And for the patent, I cannot disclose the details, but that is not about the process safety itself, but it's about the collaborative approach of using all these 26 applications that you saw in the presentation in a collaborative and integrated manner.
So are you ready to license it?
We are, once we get the patent, yeah, it will take time. They told us 1 year or 2 years. So, but we can talk.
Okay. We have a question over here.
Yeah, so I think part of it was the answer. I was going to ask about the timeline a little bit. The first question I had, though, was, and I think somebody alluded to it, how are you identifying and then prioritizing where the opportunities lie to go attack with these IoT types of solutions?
Okay, does anybody want to take that? Eugene?
I may have mentioned it in the presentation, but it's the high ROI projects and high probability of success projects. If you can find that intersection, those are the ones we would do first.
Okay, does anybody else want to add to that? Ian?
Yeah, I agree with Gina. It's mainly the pain area that you have within your plant, where you can really start with low-hanging fruit and show the management what are the area of improvement that you can do by implementing these new technologies.
Okay, we have another question here, Michael.
Yeah. Mike Dedzik, ArcelorMittal Dofasco. 2 questions. The second one is I'd like to hear the answer to Michael's question because I was also interested in that during the presentation there. But to Derek, so that dynamic targeting simulation that you created there obviously was a significant. I was just trying to get a sense of, was that the implementation like your domain expertise using the OSI tool, or did the tool really help bring your domain expertise together? Because that's obviously a huge impact. I was just trying to understand, since we use OSI as well, I'm just trying to see how you managed to get that answer.
To be honest, it could have been any tool. The OSI software was just a tool that was available to us. But it was really the domain expertise. Having the technology group in analyzing historical return recoveries and developing, through least means regression analysis and there's still refinement to it. And there's something that we're continuing on refining to make that simulation as accurate as it is possible. So certainly it's not a Pi specific tool, but it made things easier to implement having it already there.
Okay. And then the question you had, Michael, was really good.
So this is around domain expertise versus pure, maybe computational learning. And yeah, so originally I was a process control engineer, and I've always been a big fan of first principles modeling. I think it's tremendous value. You saw from the vibration example, it's not just pure looking at the numbers time series, but knowing that certain frequencies in your time domain vibration are associated with known failure modes and tracking those. So again, domain expertise. I will have to say, though, we've had success where doing a big number crunch in the analytics platform, we've determined or correlated certain factors in the process to yield improvements that gave us clues that later we would piece together the physics of why that was so. So where the neural networks and the machine learning, it's produced correlative events that led us to dig into the causation piece of it, again, via physics and first principle models.
Okay, I think we have another question. Back of the room.
Good morning. This is John Cooley from Procter & Gamble. A lot of what we've heard this week has been collecting data, pulling data out of systems, populating in databases, generating dashboards and reports, which is sort of the backside of the V model. And I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the V model, but the left-hand side of the V model is all about the specifications, the structured making instructions, the formulas, and managing those, the definition, collection, and then downloading those to the control system. Have any of you tackled the task of downloading structured making instructions, specifications, targets into your control systems from your PLMs and other systems?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So what we did is that if you looked at what we did is that we took the planning and scheduling. So the business process that we do is the end-to-end management of the business process. So we take the corporate planning target. We divide it. They usually send it to us on a monthly basis. We divide it into weekly, daily, and per shift target, and then we schedule it, and then we send it automatically with the blend recipes and the specification to the blender in the plant. So once we do that, we will collect the data to ensure that the blender is executing per the original plan. Does that answer your question? Is this what?
You're taking target spec data out of your PLM type systems and downloading it right into your DCS?
Into the DCS itself, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to mention, talk about that, or okay?
Okay, I was hoping to duck that one. Unfortunately, it's not a simple answer. It is not an automatic download. But in the pharmaceutical industry, you have to run clinical trials before you have a product. So what we're trying to do is to line up our process development labs that make this clinical material aligned with larger scale initial launch manufacturing facility and final production. It's PLM that holds the master data, the license information, the critical process parameters. But it's not an automated process, and it's going to be a long journey to become an automatic download process. We're frustrated in that space, so that's why I was curious. I'm frustrated too.
Mahendra?
Yeah. So in our case, exactly the PLM, our PLM is in cloud. It's not in private cloud. And we have our manufacturing execution system, and we have our stringer, we call it. In the solar panel, you have cells, and then actually cells are assembled into panel. So we have a stringer machine, which is more robotic, and it actually, every cell is actually can be identified by a 2x2 QR code. So time to time, actually, we introduce new cells in our PLM. It's a new item in our product lifecycle management tool. And that data actually automatically gets its way to our MES. And from MES, actually, we feed that to those robotic machines. So we are in a very early stage. We are in the pilot stage. We used to do automatic download all the way up down to MES at the site. Not to the machine. Right now, actually, we are trying to do that, and we achieved it in the pilot line, I would say.
Okay.
We can talk. I have another session following this. I can explain the architecture.
Okay. Valentine? Or no, there's another gentleman back.
My name is Ashok Patel from Owens Corning. Thank you. Great presentation. Looks like the digital journey has started a couple of years back, because it looks like everybody on the stage already had made progress in that area. And one of the presentations that I went, they said more than 80% of the companies started, and almost like 11% has success. And Michael, you mentioned some of the data, and from talking with the people, there's you say 61% from another analyst, and so there's a big gap, and I see everybody's moving. The future is already here now, right? Basically on digital. Why you think that the failure rate was that high, according to that survey, that less than 11% succeed?
I think because some people when you see these surveys sometimes, people like to be smart Alex, and they like to say, oh, look at these great initiatives, but they're all failing. And they don't look at it granularly. And also, same time, it's an evolution, right? When companies start and you ask them, how's it going? If you ask them the first 6 months, they can't give you an answer, or they're going to say, well, it's not going as well as they expected. But if they look forward in a few years, they look better. And also, I think as everyone's pointed out too, instead of looking at the Hoover Dam, doing it as small minimum viable project or small initiatives, the progress is so much better. You see, it's very much a bottom-up approach, you know, but if you try the big, holistic, we're going to transform our entire company, that's inevitably going to fail. So I think there's been a mental shift. By doing that, you'll see more success.
Okay. Okay, we have
So-
another question in the back. Oh, wait a second. Mahendra, why don't you? I'm sorry.
So yeah, same thing. You know, many companies actually probably would not take the minimum viable product because most of the time, as everyone pointed out, everybody targets the high ROI use case and try to do it and feel empowered to spend as much as they can. So that's the mistake. So we should start with the MVP, minimum viable product first. And it comes with almost zero cost, as Michael pointed out. But of course, it should not become your hindrance again. You know, I've achieved this much actually with zero cost, so I will stay there only. It's a journey, so you have to continuously improve. But at the same time, MVP is the must. So you have to start with somewhere very small. That gives you enough wiggle room to fail and learn and then move forward. Yeah, for example, I can take a use case, and technology is evolving so fast. What we know, big data or cloud computing 2 years back, it's not the same today. In our recently, like 2 months back in my project, what we have started doing is we have started using an optimized file format, which reduced our file sizes by 1/10 of it. Say I have to transmit 150 gigabytes of data over my network every day. Now I transmit only 15 GBs of data. That optimized file format came to market only in 2018. So you have to keep your eyes open, and you can definitely start small and with almost no cost, and avoid failures, costly failures.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question, which is one in the back. So,
Hey guys, thanks for coming to talk today. Sammy with Uptake here. Derek, I had a question for you with the 20 program. So the recovery gains that you guys have been able to realize are significant now, and just curious how that may be influencing the 20 program and the new areas that you'll focus on moving forward, or you're just seeking to optimize towards more recovery gains?
Well, what we did was only one part of the circuit, and certainly both upstream and downstream, we've taken on initiatives since then on improving on that. And there's always, it's just a culture of continuous improvement, and there's no resting in this space. We've had a number of feelers out for other PLCs. I know I talked to you in particular, but there's a limitation on our end on the resource side, and there's only so many initiatives. But what we've able to take with this first step was to prove that what can be done, the potential is there, and certainly there's lots to be improved upon, and it's just picking the lowest hanging fruit and taking it full throttle and going for it.
okay, well, I'd like to just close out with asking each of our panelists and speakers to just tell a couple of what they think are like a key takeaway for them. I'm going to start with you, Ian.
I think the main takeaway is that start from where everybody stops. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Look at the existing implementation, where the technology have reached, and then start from there. Don't try to start from scratch.
Okay, Derek?
Yeah, certainly I'll add to that. Let's leverage the knowledge that amongst your peers. Forums like this are a wonderful avenue for seeking some of the lessons learned and getting, trying to avoid some of the pitfalls that other people have experienced, and trying to take advantage of the technologies that are available and utilize them the best you can.
Mahendra?
Yeah, I'm going to steal the points from you. Yeah, close the gap between your manufacturing and IT and technology, because this IoT or digital transformations cannot happen in silo teams. So you have to really come together and do it, and start small, of course.
Michael?
And I'd say the same. IT is not the enemy. They're just misinformed.
Gene?
Make your IT leader co-lead the project, so the obstacle is part of the solution.
Okay, well, I just think we had such a great selection of speakers. These are world-class speakers. And also, thank you to the audience. We really appreciate you all coming. You are a great audience. Thank you.